Hey everyone, I'm Elfiles, and welcome back to yet another week of the LDLG Max Division. Last time we were in week 4, and I took a very close match against Malice and the Iowa Cub Shoes. Go check that one out. It was a 1-0 victory after I made a big mistake, but we did bring it back. So yeah, we're up to a 3-1 record for the season. Going up against Aaron and the Rome Empoleons. The graphics a little off. This is a 2-2 team at, I believe, +5? Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. This is a pretty good team we're facing off against, so let's get right into it. We got the Iron Bundle, Landorus Therian, Hisuian Gudra, Cerulege, Terra Captain Florges, Quillfish, Rillaboom, Terra Captain Halucha, Zoroark, Electros, and Magneton. Very, very threatening team. That Iron Bundle at the top definitely stands out. Doesn't have the best matchup against me because I, of course, have Sun, which weakens the Hydro Pump, and under those conditions, I do have some decent checks. Other than that, though, you got Landorus and Gudra, which are both very solid, bulky pieces. Cerulege, which can sweep you at a moment's notice, but I am most concerned about the two Terra Captains in the matchup. That Florges just has such a good tendency to either wall up with a specially defensive set or start setting up Calm Minds, which I am not that well prepared to go up against, especially if it tears into a different type other than Fairy. I have a team just full of special attackers, so if it decides to go with a very specially bulky Calm Mind set, I might have a little trouble going against it. We'll see. And then, of course, you have the Rillaboom Halucha core. Terra Halucha with Unburden and Swords Dance is terrifying. I have a few physically defensive options to deal with it, but that doesn't mean that it is not just so scary to go up against. I'm going to have to deal with this thing somehow, and we'll see how we get into it. Other than that, Zoroark and Magneton and Electros definitely have some roles to play, but I'm not expecting them too much, and same with Quillfish. So with that said, let's just get right into the build, which starts off with Scarf Chi-Yu. My motivation for starting off with this Scarf set was to outspeed Scarf Landorus, and this is also just decent win condition against the team overall. I think if we can get up the Sun and then make sure we outspeed everything, Chi-Yu could just sweep with fire moves, we'll see. So that's the motivation here. Fire Blast and Flamethrower are two Sun boosted stabs. Dark Pulse is secondary stab, which is very important for hitting the Cerulege. And Memento is not really useful, it's just there as filler because we don't need any other moves, but it could be a source of momentum for something, stop a slow bulky sweeper or something like that. So yeah, it could come up. Basically, this is just a fast, strong attacker. Even with Scarf and no boosting item, she was so strong, I believe it 2-hit KOs standard Assault Vest Gudra and specially defensive Florges in Sun with Fire Blast, so looking forward to using that. Next up, we got Torkoal. Pretty standard set. This is a decent check to the Halucha because it takes a +2 close combat pretty well, even takes a +2 Stone Edge, and then from there we can either Lava Plume for good damage, any potential burn, or you can Yawn to force it out of its Unburden boost. Other than that, we got Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin to kind of start up our hazard game. Torkoal is just going to be doing that every time pretty much, and yeah. Got the Heat Rock and Drought for our sun setting. You know the drill, it's Torkoal. Moving along, we got Tinkaton, which is running a pretty Spadef set, kind of a weird EV spread. But the point of this is mostly as a check to Iron Bundle, because we can switch in on that, especially under Sun, and not take too much damage from any of its moves. The EVs are to outspeed Landorus, and it's enough attack to actually knock out standard offensive Landorus with knockoff into Ice Hammer on the switch. And the knockoff even ensures it won't outspeed us because it can't have a Scarf. So that's kind of the main goal. Play Rough is just the main stab move. It does the most damage to Iron Bundle. And it still does good stuff to things like Hisuian Gudra and Halucha. So that's kind of the benefit of it over Gigaton Hammer. Wish I could have fit something in for Magneton here because it does kind of trap and wall this Tinkaton set. But I'm kind of betting on Magneton not coming. Hope that doesn't come to bite me. And I did want to fit room for Encore, which is my main way of dealing with Florges. Yeah, this is a pretty good Florges check. We can take any hit it goes for, honestly, unless it goes for its Terra. And if it's going for Calm Mind, I can just Encore it in, knock off, start chipping away at it, and take care of it that way. So Tinkaton, pretty good Pokemon, just a decent blanket check to a lot of things. Moving along, we have Toadsquirrel. This is actually my dedicated lead for the matchup with a Focus Sash. Spikes look really, really good here with a lot of Pokemon vulnerable to it. that chip could be really nice. And the team's only defogger is Hawlucha, which I have plans to get around later. So of course we have spikes, which I'm planning to set up early. In the lead slot, I'm expecting either an Iron Bundle or something like a Scarf Landorus, and I think if it starts like that, I'm gonna go for Spore, maybe Giga Drain on the Iron Bundle, we'll see. But after we get that off, then I can start setting up spikes on whatever comes in, knock off to disrupt some strategies. Just a generally good way to start the game, I think. We have enough speed for the Landorus and max special attack because I do want Giga Drain to KO the bundle if I lead off against that. So moving right along, we have Kilowattrel, which is running a very physically defensive set. We still have a timid nature and enough speed to outrun Adamant Hawlucha, but other than that, it is all in Fizz Def. I am trying to be a good check to Hawlucha as well as the Rillaboom. And at that, we do a decent job. Air Slash hits both of them super effectively, Volt Switch pivots out, and hits the Hawlucha super effectively. And we take hits pretty well. We can heal up with Roost. Weather Ball is mainly coverage for the Magneton in case that shows up, but it's also my only neutral move into the Goodra, so we might be able to leverage that a little bit. I'm Terra Steel because if the Hawlucha is setting up like an unburdened Swords Dance, if I suspect a rock move like Stone Edge into me, I can Terra Steel to avoid that and then either Air Slash or Volt Switch or something just to make sure it goes down. Kilowattrel is not a very good Hawlucha check anymore once it becomes a Steel type, but if we get that one turn surprise on an unburdened set and like make sure it's forced out, then that's all I really need from it. That's the main goal here. Lastly, we are competitive because this is my Hawlucha switch-in, and Hawlucha is the defogger of the team, so if it tries to defog the spikes or rocks away, I can get a nice boost, and Kilowattrel actually starts hitting pretty hard at +2, so maybe we can get something going off of that. And lastly here we have Walking Wake, which is another Sun Abuser. This is my wall breaker for the matchup. So we are running a Life Orb and enough speed to outrun the Zoroark, but we still have enough special attack that we're getting the special attack boost from Sun, because I want this to be, my breaker for the matchup. Want as much firepower as possible. We're running Hydro Steam, Draco Meteor, and Flamethrower. Good coverage for anything, and then Low Kick with some attack investment in the last slot because I want to get good damage into that Goodra. A Draco into Low Kick does potentially KO it, although I will probably be going for Hydro Steam as the neutral move across the team, so I'll need a couple of those to kind of chip it down into Low Kick range, and then from there, Walking Wake really does go off. Floridus is another bit of an issue, but if we're chipping that down, that's also good, and this is all helped by those Toedscruel spikes. The spikes with Walking Wake are kind of the main synergy I'm looking at. Really hope that works out for me. So that's going to be the team. It is very much like chip them down kind of team, like run them out of resources until I can just win with something like Scarf Chi-Yu. No obvious setup win condition, but I'm hoping we can still pull it off. I will see you guys in the battle. Hey everyone. So unfortunately I didn't get a recording of this match. OBS had a bit of a hiccup early on in the recording, and when I went to restart it, I guess I was in too much of a hurry and I didn't actually confirm that it was recording again, so I don't have gameplay footage to show. Sorry about that, but I did still want to get the results of the battle out, so here's a quick rundown of what happened, represented by this scuffed PowerPoint animated battle to the best of my memory. So, we're going to get into it. For team preview, we can see Aaron brought a lot of his top tiers, plus the Zoroark. That's mostly what I prepped for. Zoroark is a little weird to see, but at least that means no Rillaboom and no Hawlucha, which also means no hazard removal. So we're going to go with the plan and lead with Toedscruel against the Landorus lead. So it's going to U-turn out, revealing no attack investment actually, and Goodra switches in to get put to sleep by Spore. Then it switches back out to Landorus as I get up a layer of spikes, and then Landorus goes first and U-turns for the KO, revealing Choice Scarf as I was trying to knock off there. That's going to bring in Ceruledge after the U-turn. I'm going to go Torkoal to get Sun up, but I actually can't touch this thing, so I end up pivoting to Walking Wake, but not before that Ceruledge is able to set up a sub and a bulk up. That was probably a mistake on my end. I really should have just revenged the Ceruledge presenting itself with the Walking Wake in the first place. I guess I just wanted my Sun up. It's not the worst thing. I can just Hydro Steam the sub away and take some damage for it. it's not the best, but we'll take it. Sarah is going to be forced out into Gudra after that next Hydra Steam, which goes in for a bit of damage. And then I can just KO the Gudra with a couple of low kicks while it stays asleep. I am going to go down to very low health after the Life Orb recoil, but Gudra's down. We're at a 5-5 game. That brings in Scarf Landorus to revenge. We're going to start playing some pivoting games. Kilowattrel in to take the U-turn, Sarah in to take the Volt Switch, and of course Chi-Yu is a good resist, takes a soft Bitter Blade. Then Florges is going to come in to take the Dark Pulse. It's going to set up with a Terra Water Calm Mind as I switch to Tinkaton, but it is going to get locked into by Encore. And with nothing wanted to take a Tinkaton hit, and Florida's kind of forced out anyway, Sarah is going to be the switch in to get 2-hit KO'd by Knockoff. Of course, that is going to bring back in the Scarf Landorus, and Kilowattrel is going to come in on the Earth Power, so it's a special Scarf Landorus. We're going to force it to switch out, and it goes into the quote-unquote Iron Bundle, but I Volt Switch to reveal that is, of course, the Zoroark, and I bring in Chi-Yu. And I'm confident that I'm going to outspeed and get the KO, but Zoroark actually outspeeds with his own Focus Blast, but it misses. That's a very lucky break. Our Dark Pulse does KO back, and then Florges comes back in, and then I go back into Tinkaton, but Aaron makes the right play. It just goes directly for Terra Blast, so I can't Encore into Calm Mind this time. I do go for a Knockoff to take out the leftovers, but Terra Blast is doing decent damage, and I do kind of need to keep Tinkaton healthy for the bundle in the back, so I'm going to switch to Torkoal to reset the sun. We do take a Terra Blast for it. And then here's where I think I'm going to make another mistake here. I switched to Walking Wake, partially as a sack, but Florges actually goes for Calm Mind on the switch. I could have brought in Tinkaton on this turn, but I think Aaron made a great play by recognizing that I was trying to preserve Tinkaton in the back, and went for that Calm Mind to put me in a really bad situation. While I'm here, I guess, I figured that I should just get off as much damage as I can before I go down to Life Orb, so I'm just going to fire off a Draco, which does crit through the special defense boost for the KO. Another lucky break to immediately bail me out of that situation. I'm getting very, very lucky with this battle. Landorus is going to come in, and I'm just going to allow it to KO me with a Scarf U-turn. Walking Wake's not useful anymore, and that brings in Iron Bundle, which does have a booster energy for speed. Not actually too confident that Tinkaton can 1v1 from about half health, so instead I'm going to go Kilowattrel, Terra Steel to take the Ice Beam, and Volt Switch takes out the bundle while I swap out to Chi-Yu. We get the last 1v1 matchup, Chi-Yu versus Landorus, but we just get a Sun-boosted Scarf Flamethrower, and that's more than enough to one-hit KO the Landorus for a 4-0 win. So yeah, that's the game. I don't even have to mention that this was an incredibly lucky game for me. The Focus Blast miss on Chi-Yu and the Draco crit on Florges were pretty game defining. Losing Scarf Chi-Yu to the Zoroark would have meant that I didn't have it as a way to outspeed Scarf Landorus in the endgame, so at the very least I would have had to keep Kilowattrel unterra'd to keep a ground immunity, relying instead on Tinkaton to try to deal with the bundle, I guess. And then the Walking Wake Draco crit probably wasn't as game defining. It still mattered a lot for sure. I think that without the crit, even with the post-game knowledge that the Floridas had a sun-boosted synthesis to go for, I would still have Tinkaton to trade down with it, with the threat of Encore to keep it from boosting or healing any further, so I can make sure that it wasn't sustaining itself. That said, if the Floridas were to swap out of that matchup and then be preserved for later, that would make the Kilowattrel and Chi-Yu endgame much, much harder, so yeah, crit was obviously a huge deal. I'd say this was a messy game where I made a few key mistakes, and my 4-0 win can definitely be attributed to those two big turns of hacks. Regardless, GG to Aaron. Sorry about the luck going my way, but it is going to take me to a 4-1 record. Good for third place in the league. And speaking of placements, I think that with the extra time I have, I could take a look at a couple of stats for the season as a bit of a mid-season check-in. We just finished week 5 of 9, so let's see how it's going. So up at the top left, you have my record for the season. On the right, you see the rankings for teams, and on the bottom is the individual Pokemon KO leaderboard. And right off the bat, we can see that Walking Wake is my KO leader so far with 6 KOs and a +3 KD ratio. That's actually good enough to just barely sneak into the top 10 overall KO leaders. I've been very happy with Walking Wake so far. Seems like a great breaker and sweeper in Sun. Just getting a Photosynthesis boost on top of using a different held item feels so good, and it feels like a lot of team building troubles are resolved by just having a blatantly powerful Hydro Steam that kind of breaks other teams apart. And it's coming from Mon with a great speed tier and solid bulk on top of that, so I just can't complain about Walking Wake. I could say similar things about Sun Boosted Chi-Yu, but it hasn't quite been performing as well as Wake so far. It just got onto the board with 2 KOs this week, but even that was a result of a Focus Blast miss on it. I feel like part of its kind of struggles this season have been that I haven't been able to get it onto the field as easily as Walking Wake, which feels a lot bulkier, and its typing just happens to match up with my team a little more. But I do still believe in Chi's firepower, and I think it'll have its time to shine at some point. It already kind of did this battle, so that's nice at least. Other than that, we got Tinkaton actually pretty close behind Walking Wake with 5 KOs for the season. We have some other stuff. I've been relying on Tinkaton a lot. The only Pokemon to come to every game so far have been Chi-Yu, Walking Wake, Torkoal, and Tinkaton. And that makes sense. It's just such a good utility piece with its typing and move pool. I have a hard time passing it up in the team builder alongside the Sun Core. And I think its offensive potential is a bit underrated in draft, where you can handpick your coverage. Tinkaton has a surprisingly good move pool for claiming KOs. But yeah, otherwise, like I said, a couple of other good performances from the Pokemon I've had throughout. Slitherwing and Slowbro, they've been brought one time each, and they did great in their battles. Toadsquirrel and Hatterene have done some good utility work. And you got Honchkrow and Ursaring there at the bottom. Haven't been brought yet, but I can see some opportunities for them in later weeks. So, I'm pretty happy with the team so far. Like I said, it's good for 3rd place in the league as of the end of week 5. So we're one of the 4-4-1 teams with a solid enough differential to beat out most of them. So I think that's going to put me in a pretty decent spot for the second half of the season. Definitely excited to get into that. Speaking of which, we've got week 6 coming up next, where I'll be playing Jetman99 and his Australian Arcanines. Thank you all for watching. Sorry the battle came out rough, the way it did, but I did actually have a lot of fun putting this together for you all. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.